Hi, everyone. Welcome to this special series at the Church of Sacred Synthesis known as Toad Talks. My name is Cynthia Cramblett. I'm here with Ian Benoit and Joe Paul. Joe has not joined us just yet. Joe is a longtime toad tracker and ecological witness of these beautiful creatures. So hi, Joe. Welcome to Toad Talk, and hi, Ian.
Yay. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
thanks for welcoming.
absolutely. So I guess the greatest place to dive in right now is kind of catching up on what's been going on with this monsoon season. Maybe Ian, if you want to provide us with a little bit of an update there, and then we can go into all the amazing information that Joe cares to share with us.
Sure, that sounds perfect. So the monsoon on average starts in the southern Arizona, southeastern Arizona. We're paying attention to on average July 3rd. This year it started on July 2nd with about a tenth of an inch, like a quarter of an inch in the Tucson area. Spotty depending upon where you were. And that was enough to kick things off, but not really the full-on mating. And then about 2 weeks after that, to almost about 2 weeks ago, we had from an inch and a half to 2.5, and that was water that the desert needed. And yet that hasn't been enough to take any kind of mating for any of the amphibians off in full force. And so everyone's ready. The energy is building. The clouds outside are amazing, little fluffy clouds. Yeah, we're waiting for them to bring some rain, because the rains bring out the toads. So yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for that update. We're really excited to continue with this series into the month of August and just see what pops off as mating really begins. So with that, I would love to kind of transition over to Joe and learn more about your introduction to the toads, how you came into becoming a toad tracker, and as we mentioned in the introduction, an ecological witness to these beings.
Yeah. I mean, I got into psychedelics like the late '80s. I got into ethnobotanicals probably around '95. I got into serving people at that point. I had come across 5-MeO probably in 1999. I had about a gram of it. I tried it and I gave it away. I thought it was just like a psychedelic seizure. I didn't see any value in it or anything like that. I had heard about licking toads and all of that, but yeah, it wasn't until about 2015, 2016, it kind of came up onto my radar. 2016, 2017, I got my hands on some, and then shortly after I found my first mentor, kind of went with that. And yeah, as soon as I got my hands on it, I mean, as soon as I had tried it, and yeah, I knew I wanted to have some. When I get into something, I get into it, and you know what I mean. I don't want to rely on other people for it, so
Mm-hmm.
I dug in on my own. I had a friend who was a friend of a guy named Joey Rude that was living in Arizona at the time, and I met up with him, and he kind of showed me the ropes.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to speak explicitly here, but when you say like a mentor and someone who showed you the ropes, are you referring to actually going out and collecting some medicine yourself?
Yeah. Well, he didn't actually. He gave me a hard time. He just kind of verbally gave me some instructions, and he would kick me out into places. You know, I never actually went out with him and actually had him show me.
Mm.
But it was kind of like he would send me out, and I know what he was doing too. He was sending me out to scout out places that he didn't want to go out to. Yeah,
Okay.
my first couple of years were horrible as far as actually collecting and finding them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah.
Yeah, and
In fact,
feel free, Ian, to chime in at any
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
And I jump in to say for folks out there, yeah, when we're using the word collecting, we're referring to collecting the medicine, right? We're talking about collecting the toads, because there are ethical ways to collect the medicine that don't involve uh, transporting the toads or gathering them
Mm-hmm.
together with any other toads. So
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. So is the more common term is called milking, right? Milking the
yeah.
glands.
I want to hear what Joe.
Uh,
Yeah, Joe. When is that the first term that you heard used, right? When you met your mentor? How
Yeah, I
did
mean,
he
I don't.
describe it?
Yeah, just collecting. He just called it collecting.
Got it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, milking. I call it that. I guess it kind of sounds. I don't know. To me,
yeah.
it sounds collecting sounds a little bit more non-sexual, or I don't know what you want to call
Yeah.
it.
That's why I just say toading. It's like, if you know, you
uh,
know, you know. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it seems like there's been a good almost a decade of you going into the desert, collecting, as you say, the secretions, not the toads themselves. So, have you noticed any changes in like the toad's lifestyle, life cycle, maybe population, things like that?
Um, in local areas, from year to year, sometimes they won't even come out, and it doesn't mean that they're not there. It's if the rains don't come out in their nearby vicinity, if they don't hear the rain pounding on the ground, they don't come out, or they don't come out for that mate. I mean, they may come out, but they're not coming out during the monsoon time to mate and all of that.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not seen a difference in the population. In fact, from year to year, some places might be dry, other places might be abundant. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as the spread and the range, it's I mean, I personally can't get out as far as possible, but I saw evidence of toads last year. I was right at the border of New Mexico. I
Mm-hmm.
saw tracks of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw evidence of them. I just missed. It was during the daytime. I wasn't out there at night.
Yeah, for sure.
But
And
I
oh,
was just going to say I'm not
mhm.
seeing a difference in their population.
Got
Not
it.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, that's something
It's-
that's been kind of irritating to me hearing this over and over again online. I mean, what's going on in Mexico? I can't really speak to the population down there, but up in the United States, the toads are thriving,
Mm-hmm.
thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah. I would just say, Joe, we can, the only, the big imposition in their lives seems to be the more urban environments where there's either lots of trash and things getting run off, or developments where they're putting, some kind of gravel on the desert, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Other
yeah.
places in the desert where there's not a lot of people around, or the toads, yeah, you said, like you're saying, they seem healthy as ever. So,
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you had alluded to the difference in what's happening potentially in Mexico versus in the United States north of the border. And I know it's a very sensitive subject. We don't necessarily have to dive completely into that. But have you ever came across or heard of any presence of Mexican nationals who might be coming up to increase their acquisition of
oh
toads
yeah,
or medicine?
yes, yes, absolutely. I've gotten into an argument online with somebody who was coming up.
Mhm.
I know that even they're using some of the indigenous tribes are like creating their own licenses, and people in Mexico are actually able to come into the United States, and the United States is actually honoring their license to come up and toad. I've visually seen people from Mexico up milking toads.
Uh-huh.
That kind of scares me a little bit, with all the cartel stuff that's going on down there. I don't want any of that stuff coming up in the United States.
Yeah, of course, we don't want that. We see that in so many other industries and avenues, so it's a little bit scary. Ooh, so you were talking about a licensing. So this sounds I don't know the proper terminology, but it's some sort of like a religious affiliation that gives them this licensure to cross over the border and come into the States.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a tribal thing, so that he's
yeah,
allowed to collect.
yeah. I think it's because, like, that, I can't even say the name of it, right? The reservation, Joe Paul, that's southern Arizona. It's right along the Mexican border. So,
Yeah.
and there's tons of toads in that, on that Indian reservation. And
I see.
and yeah, so
Yeah.
if Mexican national crossed that border, they'd be crossing into sovereign, tribal territory. I don't know if that's what's happening, but that's at least a place that could occur. That's the one reservation in Arizona that's on the border. So, and that's
Yeah.
toads. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me. I'd never heard anything like that. But when we're getting into two nations and a border, things get very, very complicated, especially in a matter such as this, where there's a lot of opinions on what is safe for the toads, what is unsafe, and what is ethical. So with that, Joe, what are your considerations or opinions on ethical milking, collecting, harvesting medicine from the
Yeah.
toads? Do you have a certain protocol that you follow? And
Yep.
would love to dive into that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I collect ethically, or what I consider to be ethically. So first off, when I don't use buckets. This is what a lot of people do, especially if they're like trying to populate a sanctuary. A lot of the collecting that's done in Mexico, they'll just drive down the road and just collect all the toads they can, bring it indoors somewhere, and then collect it, and then the toads, if you try returning them back to their home, they certain reptiles, they're not, and I know they're amphibians, but they don't have the brain power that we do. They can get confused. They can have a hard time feeding themselves.
I see.
There's a chytrid fungus too when you're transferring them. If you happen to have one that's infected and you bring it back to the sanctuary, the whole lot can go.
I see. I see. And what is the range of these toads? Like, what's their habitat? Is like an acre or less or larger? Any idea?
I mean, my understanding is that they can. Ian and I were talking about this the other day. They can go up to about 300 yards or something, or
A
1,000
couple
feet.
hundred meters. It seems like that's the
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
No.
And they
Yeah.
need to be kind of looks like within that kind of distance, right, from semi-permanent water source to where they got born, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I want to differentiate the ethical milking from the unethical milking. So first off, I will collect right on the spot where I see the toad. I'm going to, actually, I try not to handle it as much as I can with my hands. I use like a rag, and then I'll just pick up the rag and do what I got to do. So I milk them. And also, here's another thing too. I'm not holding onto them forever. I'm not just sitting there holding it and taking my time and hitting all of the glands. They've got a bunch of glands. They got the parotid glands. They got glands down their arms, glands down their legs. So I'll just take a little bit out of the parotid glands so that they're still left with a little bit of juice,
Nice.
and then let them go. So they're, you know. So here's one thing. One way that you can tell that your medicine's been collected ethically, instead of blood, which is sometimes inevitable, but if you're finding more than one or two specks of blood in your medicine, more than likely whoever's collecting is just squeezing as much as they can get out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like I said, sometimes it's unavoidable. Just because you see a little bit doesn't mean that the animal's being abused. But
Sure.
in general, when the unethical types too, you'll also see more than likely when it's collected as sanctuary or indoors, you'll start seeing like thick, the medicine comes out really thick. Um, and that's because they're not collecting on the fly. When you're collecting on the fly, you've just got your dish, and you know what I mean. Indoors, they'll use like cellophane paper, and they don't have to worry about wind or anything getting knocked or blown over. So, ethically collected medicine, you might find dirt in it as opposed to blood. That's a really big giveaway. If you see a tiny little specks of dirt, it's
Mhm.
almost unavoidable if you're collecting right there on the spot,
Yeah.
because it's you're out in the wild.
Yeah. And for those because some people are starting to tune into this series, they're new to the Sonoran Desert Toad, 5-MeO, and are really trying to gain a better understanding of what all of this is about. So I like to speak to the first timers, the newbies as well. But for those who've not seen the medicine, what's the color of it once that it dries, so they can then start to, outside of seeing like a speck of blood, know what to be looking for?
Yeah, it'll be opaque, or it's like a yellowish color. It's a
Mm-hmm.
latex,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll look a little bit like plastic or a latex,
I
and they're
see.
flakes.
Got it.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
it can go from bright yellow to kind of like a tannish color as it gets older. And incidentally, as it gets older, and the tannish color doesn't mean that it's bad. I know DMT, and I'm pretty sure 5-MeO DMT, they get as it oxidizes, it gets like an NO a
Yeah.
nitric oxide version of
Yep.
it, and it's
Yep.
solid. Like a lot of this medicine, like I have stuff that's been sitting around for like 8 years, and I know it's good.
Yeah.
And I'm not refrigerating it. I'm not. I'm just airtight container, no sunlight.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. And if you're comfortable, do you want to share, like you kind of like mentioned some snapshots of the process of using a rag to handle a toad and things like
Yeah.
that, and having a dish or cellophane. And you mentioned where the glands are, not to squeeze too much. But is there if someone wants to go out there and do this ethically, do you care to share that process, or would you
Uh,
rather not?
Yeah, I would rather not. If somebody wants to come out, I mean, if somebody wants to come out, let's say with Ian or with me or with somebody who knows what they're doing, that's one thing. But I don't want this information getting out to every Yahoo that's going to come down and do a half-ass job and mistreat the toads.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know.
that's part of
Yeah.
my concern as well, right? There's good actors and bad actors, it seems, in every single
Mhm.
space. So how do we continue to share this information and create harm reduction for these beautiful animals, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a difficult dance to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll argue the problem exists because of the perverse incentive of the drug war. So in Mexico, where 70% of the Sonoran Desert is, populations have been decimated, like around Hermosillo, I guess, especially the biggest kind of city in Sonora, down 30%. And that's just because now there's there's a cartel drug trade based around it. Whereas I'm interested, like Joe's perspective in the U.S., it doesn't seem that. It seems like the people that are in the community of collectors are collecting it for themselves and their friends inside their medicine circle. It's not entering any market outside of that. So
Yeah, and I'm curious if we know for the like where is this medicine going that's coming from those who are collecting it, in ways that are not harmonious with nature.
like
Is it
in
going abroad?
Mexico,
It's
yeah,
coming into the States. Is
yeah,
it for
yeah,
treatment facilities in Mexico?
yeah. It's going to Los Angeles, New York, yeah, Europe, yeah. And the people I've talked to say it's the market is there's not really obviously a toad market. The cartel wants to control it because it's in their territory.
Sure.
50 to 100 kilos of collected medicine. But
Mm-hmm.
again, that's really coming out of Mexico. Joe
Mm-hmm.
said the populations appear to be healthy where without human intervention, and in Mexico where they've been heavily, uh, worked on and then killed or whatever by moving them around and whatnot. Yeah, the population hasn't been able to sustain itself. So
Yeah. Do you believe there's some way that we can incentivize people to safely, respectfully, lovingly work with um, collecting, harvesting this medicine for themselves, or is it better to just a select few have access to do such?
That's how I'm feeling, and that's actually how I've been doing things. Like I won't bring somebody around. No, actually, I won't. I will bring people. Let's say there's friends that I serve, and they just want to see what the toad's like and whatnot. I would come out and show them, but I won't show somebody unless there's somebody that I've vetted and I know they're ethical and they're serving. I'm not going to. I don't want people just coming out taking the medicine because that's how it gets shared frivolously, and
Right.
this medicine is just too strong to just be put out into the ether. You know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia, if I could say, I don't know anyone who's involved in the United States and regularly collecting toad medicine that isn't involved in the love and ecological concern for getting the toad back to previous levels and then reseeding the environment. Yeah, because that's part of the whole package. And I mean, it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's gross to be like working with the God molecule, and then you're working in like the garbage dumps of the city where all the stuff that's getting rain and washed down into the washes is where the toad lives. So yeah,
Yeah.
the God molecules, carrier messenger isn't living so hot now. There's some bullfrogs,
Yeah.
making its life harder. But yeah, I mean, because it's really like mushrooms that it's not something easy to do, and the undercommitted people, yeah, it's too hard to. You really got to be into the toes, I think, to go and find them because they're just not. Uh, Yeah, they don't come out and line up. You don't get some special whistle.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe's trying to figure out some calls. There's different. They're very responsive to sound and the sound of the rain, the thunder, and their
Mhm.
mating
And the
calls.
vibrations,
So
yeah.
yeah, but it's all about water. We're waiting for more water.
This is maybe a little on the nose, but I think about all of the cloud seeding and weather altering things that are happening now. Like, will there be cloud seeding for the Sonoran desert toad one day if the monsoons don't come?
Wow.
Right.
Well, let's go, Joe. Chuck, go. Please go ahead.
I mean, I don't know about that as far as the cloud seeding and stuff,
Yeah.
but as far as conservation on our end, I don't know if there's any legitimate sanctuaries in the United States, but
Mm,
you know, personally, I'm just under the impression that maybe I can do my own part by maybe creating some breeding pools or learning how to dig breeding pools and populating them that way.
mhm.
So I'm not taking the animal out of its habitat. I'm just kind of giving it a little help in its own habitat.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know,
I love that. And with the breeding pools, I think our first show talking, and you had mentioned different types of flora that needs to be in that environment. So I'd love to touch back on like the type of plants that
Sure.
help
Yeah.
create a successful breeding pool environment.
Yes. And just the whole ecosystem stuff is the toad eats the ants, and the ants need like the saguaro cactus fruit, and the saguaro cactus is the biggest catcher of water. And then need the mesquite trees that feed
Mhm.
everybody from the beans and hold water, and then creosote bush and these other plants to hold water. Then the ants take the leaves from those plants when it rains and take the plants and farm the fungus, or they eat these ambrosia beetles that farm a mesquite tree with fungus. And so, yeah, the two things the toad likes to eat, both eat fungus. And yeah, that's what everyone in the desert is trying to catch and then hold water. Yeah, for as
Mm.
long as they can.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, the desert looks fine. This is about on average how much it rains, on average, a little over an inch and a half, but everyone's waiting for the next big event to be
Hmm.
enough to kick off the mating. And yeah, and I give you some update on tadpoles if that's useful. So we've seen a water source that got rain on July 2nd when the monsoon started, and I saw in that pool a breeding pair of American bullfrogs and a breeding pair of Bufal varius, and at least a couple other Sonoran desert toads. And we went back with the new friend here in town, and last night, and saw a little pool there where the water's evaporating, and so we saw stranded Sonoran desert toads, and you can see all the bird tracks around.
Mm.
The pigeons and doves, they eat them. They eat the tadpoles, or when they become froglets. But yeah, so it looks though. What I'm saying is 4 weeks for to have tadpoles that are about to sprout legs, some that have sprouted both sets of legs, and then the ones that are the toeless out of the water. That looks like it could at least happen in a 4 week cycle. The bullfrog
Hmm.
are in a longer cycle, but some of their tadpoles, if it doesn't dry out and they get rain in time, will get washed further down the river, and maybe they'll get washed to one of those reclamation sites, which are the ultimate sources of keeping the bullfrog there. So
I see. All right, great. And I'm not sure if you touched on this in the past, but what is the mating cycle, just to prepare us for when this starts to happen?
So when there's enough rain, which you're gonna have to have a quarter inch, where these pools are gonna last then for like this 4 to 6 weeks, the female lays 8,000 eggs. The male fertilizes those. The numbers look like only two of those 8,000 make it. Then they become part of the food chain, feeding everybody else. And then they've got to eat some and go back underground before, sometime in September. And yeah, I mean, that's that's really it. And like Joe said, some seasons, if there's not enough rain, they just wouldn't mate because this waste of energy in the eggs, right? They're not going to have a place to have long enough to hatch. So does
Wow.
does that answer it? Does that answer the
Yeah,
question?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you.
So
Yeah, beautiful. And Joe, you had mentioned before, I wanted to come back to this. It was in regards to what I hear is you being a steward of sorts these creatures and of the medicine and all of that. And as someone who is also a facilitator, I would just love to kind of hear if you have any personal philosophy around this medicine and these animals.
Well, I mean, as far as a personal philosophy, I mean, this medicine saved my life,
Mm.
and it definitely feels like a gift to me.
Mm.
And I mean, even though Mammalian Species has the ability to produce this stuff, I've yet to get in a cave for 8, 9 days to produce it myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah. I mean, this is I see this medicine as a sacrament, and these animals, just like any other living entity in this planet, we're all part of the same thing. Everything is holy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, it's really beautiful and so well said. If you could offer up some words of wisdom, maybe for both of you, starting with Joe, to those who are watching this, working with this sacrament, as you said, are curious about really getting more engaged with nature itself directly, I would love to hear those words and see what comes forward.
As far as working with this medicine, or
Yeah,
or
just
the
in
animals, or just
general. Yeah, if you just want to give some words of wisdom, for people who are wanting to work with the medicine or go more deeply into connecting with the animals themselves.
yeah, I mean, just working with the medicine. Yeah, specifically this medicine. I don't think anybody who hasn't, if you're coming from a background of trauma, if you haven't begun to work on avoidance coping,
Mm.
if you're not at that point in your life where you're constantly just pushing everything off to the side, this isn't the medicine for you. That's my opinion. That's my
Mhm.
strong opinion.
Mhm.
This is kind of heavy duty medicine for people who are, in my mind, who are people who are deep into a serious healing path.
Yeah.
you know yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I found this medicine as a psychonaut, or I mean, all of the medicines as a psychonaut, and my relationship with these medicines is a lot different now that you know at a certain point I had to stop going from the recreational part to more of a medicinal model.
Mhm.
And yeah, if you're not at that point, if you're just curiosity can be enough, enough reason to come to this medicine. If there's an unconscious desire on the inside to use it, but just because somebody's telling you or prodding you to do it, that's not a good enough reason. In my mind, there should be a voice on the inside that's driving you to it, and if that voice is not there, it's probably not the medicine for you.
Yeah, and in your experience of working with people, you as a facilitator, those who have come who still have very strong avoidant tendencies, do they tend to have a lot harder of a difficult time surrendering the ego? What kind of
Yeah.
occurs, or if not anything?
Not so much. I'm amazed. Some of the people that have come have never that I have dealt with people who have never touched a psycho. This was the first psychoactive anything that they touched,
Hmm.
and they've been just fine.
Yeah.
The issue with people who are avoidant is afterwards, that the reactivations. If this medicine taps you on the shoulder and has something to say, and you keep trying to avoid it, it's just so powerful. It's going to bring a lot of anxiety, and you're going to have a lot of problems if you're avoiding that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I personal opinion here, of course. My experience with people who are a bit more avoidant is they may not even know that they are. So, are there some telltale signs that someone might be able to identify if they're in that patterning, and when they might
Yeah.
be ready to move beyond it?
Yeah. So like when I'm, within my own practice, when I talk to people for a while before I serve them, and that's, I kind of, I vet them, and I start asking them about their emotional experience. You know what I
Mm.
mean? How they deal with their emotions, this, that, and the other thing. And usually that's pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's pretty easy to see.
Mm-hmm. I see. And is there like a particular, well, maybe you don't want to share that, but if it's a part of your vetting process. But in my mind, if I'm hearing that, like there might be some certain behaviors and patterns that people use to numb out their their experiences rather than kind of going to that source of pain and being curious about it and sitting within it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This medicine is great for spreading that window of tolerance, of affect
Mm,
tolerance.
sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and that's probably been one of the biggest gifts it's given me, just dealing with this, just trying to handle the pre-flight nerves, the
Hmm.
experience itself without freaking out and getting spun out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And for people who are ready and they're wanting to move into working with this medicine, but they still have levels of anxiety, what's a way that they can come into a more grounded state of calmness or acceptance before stepping into working with it?
So yeah, very specifically, I won't. If somebody's just because somebody's anxious about coming into the medicine, that's not bad news. That
Yeah.
actually gives them an opportunity to practice just sitting in their energy body.
Yeah.
To develop some equanimity, to expand that zone of tolerance.
I see.
That's what I'll tell people as they're leading up to the ceremony if they're nervous. It's like every time you get a little excited, kind of reframe it about ceremony. That's a good time to do what you're going to do in ceremony.
Mm,
Drop down into your body. What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Become curious about the energy, about your energy body, about what you're feeling inside of your body.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. And you mentioned at the very beginning of this chat that when you first came into awareness of 5-MeO, you thought it was, I forget the exact word, but you said like a psychedelic
Psychedelic
seizure.
seizure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So in that way, what's your personal opinion and experience with how this particular um, psychedelic impacts someone in comparison to others that people might be quite familiar with or have experienced?
Yeah. I think this medicine is a little bit more right brained. It focuses more on the right hemisphere of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And that it can put you into the non-dual realms. It has the capacity to put you into the non-dual realms. Whereas the
Mm-hmm.
left hemisphere, you're dealing more with the transpersonal elements, the ego, language, and stuff like this. This is more about the ground of being.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah, and to me, it seems like the energy body is kind of like the bridge
I see.
or the kind of the medium that you experience that through when you're on the medicine.
Yeah, yeah. And for those who aren't familiar necessarily with different layers of the body, when you say energy body, are you referring to the nervous system or something else that's a little bit more familiar to
Yeah,
viewers?
I would say in just in a general way, essentially anything that you could feel,
I
and that
see.
means somatically, and emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
anything that you can feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Well, I'm kind of exhausted my questions, but would love to
Okay.
just open the floor for you fellas if there's anything else you care to share that we haven't touched on or you want to go deeper into.
Um, I don't know. I guess the main thing, and I was really excited when Ian asked me to talk about this, is because I've just had this big gripe
Mm,
hearing people complaining about collecting and how it's destroying the toad population, everything like that. Yes, there are bad players, right? There are people that are just, clearly they're just trying to make money and they're going to get as many toads as they can. These people are using buckets. They bring them back. That's bad for the toads, bad for the toad population.
yeah. Yeah.
But there's a form of collecting that is actually conservative.
Yeah.
You can. So the number one way, aside from whatever has happened to the water table or pollution, from like chemical runoff and whatnot, the main thing that humans do that destroys the toad population is driving their cars when it's raining. During the
Oh,
monsoons,
oh,
that's the toads come out. They come out and they love going onto the street because they can see and they can eat and they can mate and everything like that. Right after a heavy rain, literally when the rain washes off, it's like it looks like a plague or something. Just toads everywhere in certain areas,
I see.
and the car drives by and you can just hear it boom 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 boom.
Oh no.
So collecting, you'll be sit there, you catch them off the street, you take them off the street while you're collecting, even just for a minute, you're protecting them from
Yeah.
the cars. But it's just something that's really been irritating me because I've been on the ground. I'm talking to other people who are collecting as well. I know the toads up at least in the United States, they're thriving,
Mm-hmm.
and the collecting is not in. in my view, I'm not seeing much damage.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for your
it's,
perspective. It's really nice to
yeah.
hear from someone who's there. So many times there's the gossip chain, right, of what's happening, and people really want to plant their flag in the ground and not have that firsthand, first person perspective.
Yeah, yeah. The virtue signaling around this just kind of people are coming from a good place. I want to protect the toads, and people are coming from a good place wanting to protect the toads, but things aren't exactly, what you're hearing. You know,
Yeah.
that's all. That's
Yeah, I wanted to follow on that, Joe. It's like, as you were talking, I was writing myself some notes. Cynthia was asking for like some final thoughts, and I said, well, the best way to ensure personal ethics is to do it yourself. And caring from a distance is the zoo. You know what I mean? It's like, if you don't know the toads well enough to say what's good or not for them, like, you should, not say anything, because people who care enough actually interact with them in a way to understand them better, to hopefully make their lives better. And you can't do that if you don't understand their life cycle and their ecology. And yeah, I smoked 5-MeO DMT 30 years ago. It's my 30-year anniversary, and yeah, me and my brother shared with him. He's a veteran. We didn't have any place to put it, but yeah, now we do. So we can do ethical toad harvesting. We can create synthetic 5-MeO DMT for melatonin, and take the outputs of those and not make them toxic to the environment, right? Or grow it from yeast or bacteria. And so yeah, I'm happy that we're all. And you're realizing Ken Nelson's dream, really, Joe Paul, which he said, let's not kill the golden goose that's laying this beautiful egg. His vision was 5-MeO and bioreactors. So yeah, you're certainly, to me, honoring that lineage. So yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. It was an honor to join you tonight, and I look forward to future conversations in this series. For those who are tuning in, just want to let you know that we will be, we being the Church of the Sacred Synthesis, will be hosting a ceremony August 17th, based in Tucson, Arizona. You can also join us virtually, and we'll be working with the Jaguar Light Wand, which has 5-MeO within it. So outside of that, Ian will be back online with us, I believe, next week or the following week for the fourth Toad Talk in this series. So if you want to stay up to date with what we have going on here at the church, please join as a member, and you'll be receiving newsletters from us and emails consistently updating you. Simultaneously, you have access to our membership calendar, so we can continue to share information like what was gathered and expressed tonight by these two lovely gentlemen. So with that, it's goodbye from me.
Thank you so much.
take care.